something is already moving toward you. Not in the abstract, not in the distant future. Right now, in this week, the Pleiadian fleet has transmitted a specific set of preparations, things they are asking awakened souls to have in place before December arrives. And the reason this matters tonight is that you have already been receiving the signal. You just did not have the words for it yet. That pressure behind your eyes when you try to sleep, that feeling of needing to finish something without knowing what it is, that restless urgency that has been sitting in your chest for weeks. The Pleiadians named that urgency. They named it in their transmission. And tonight, I am going to tell you exactly what they said. I want to be honest about something before we go further. When this transmission first came through, I sat with it for several days before I felt ready to share it. Not because it is frightening. It is not. But because it is specific in a way I wanted to honor carefully. The Pleiadian fleet does not often speak in timelines. They tend to work in frequencies, in impressions, in feelings that arrive sideways into the body. But this time they spoke in terms of readiness, of a window, of a before and an after, and the before is now. You are living in it. So let us begin there, in the feeling you already know, and work our way outward into what the Pleiadians have actually said. There is something the fleet specifically named about this period between now and December. They called it the preparation corridor. Not a single event, not a single date, but a passage of weeks in which certain things need to be established inside the souls who carry light, before the corridor closes and what comes after it begins. Think of it the way you might think of putting the last few things in order before a long journey. Not in panic, in intention. The Pleiadians are not sounding an alarm, they are sounding a call. And if you are watching this tonight, that call was meant to find you. The first thing they named in this transmission is one that will land immediately in your body if you have been carrying it. They said the souls who feel urgency without a clear source are not imagining something. They are receiving something. The Pleiadian fleet described a signal they have been broadcasting across the American continent and into parts of Canada, the UK, and Australia for the past several weeks. It is specifically directed at souls who agreed, before this lifetime, to be awake and active by December. Not awake in a casual sense. Active, moving, doing what they came here to do. If you have felt that nameless urgency, that is what you have been receiving. And that is just the beginning of what they transmitted. The preparations themselves, there are 4 of them, specific and clear. We are going to move through them one by one tonight. Each one connects to something you already feel in your body. Each one has a practical dimension that you can begin tonight. And there is something the Pleiadian Council added at the very end of this transmission, something about the days immediately following December, that I want to share carefully, because it reframes everything that comes before it. That is what this transmission is building toward, and we will arrive there together. What the fleet sees from where they stand is something no morning news program is equipped to describe. But you already sense it. Stay with this. Everything they transmitted is for you. The Pleiadian fleet has been observing the American continent with particular focus for the past 40 days. That is not a general statement. I want to be specific about what they are observing, because vague cosmic surveillance is not what this transmission is about. What they are watching is a pattern in the collective field, a kind of pressure that builds when a large number of souls are simultaneously approaching a threshold they agreed to cross. Imagine thousands of seeds planted in the same season, all approaching the moment of breaking through the surface at roughly the same time. The pressure that builds in the soil just before that happens. That is what the Pleiadian fleet is observing across this continent right now. And they described it with precision that took my breath away when I first received it. They said the primary physical signature of this collective threshold moment is what many lightworkers are experiencing as bone-level exhaustion. Not tiredness from working too hard, not depression, but a deep cellular fatigue that sleep does not fully relieve, as though the body is working on something enormous that the mind has no access to. If you have been sleeping 8 hours and waking up still exhausted, the fleet wants you to hear this. Your body is not failing. It is processing a frequency upgrade of a scale that has not occurred on this planet in recorded history. The exhaustion is the work, and the work is nearly complete. The second physical signature they named is the sensation of remembering without content. Have you had moments recently, perhaps in the shower, perhaps just before sleep, where you feel the edge of something enormous about to surface in your memory, and then it dissolves before you can grasp it? That is not a neurological event. That is the Pleiadian frequency doing what it is designed to do, reaching into the dormant layers of your soul memory and beginning to bring forward what you encoded there before you arrived in this body. The December corridor is partly about that surfacing. The fleet is preparing you to receive what is coming up. I want to share something here that has stayed with me since this transmission came through, because I believe, and I hold this carefully, that what the Pleiadians are describing about this exhaustion and this reaching memory is not a symptom to manage. It is a doorway. The preparation they are asking of you is not about pushing through the fatigue. It is about honoring it differently than you have been. There is a distinction in their message that I think is crucial, and we are going to go deeper into what that distinction means for your daily life as this transmission continues. The exhaustion has a message inside it. The reaching memory has a destination. And the fleet wants you to understand both before December. That understanding begins right here, in this part of the transmission. But where it leads will surprise you. The signal has been identified. Now we trace what it is asking you to build. This is the part I want you to receive with your full attention, because the Pleiadian Council was unusually direct about the first of the 4 preparations. They said it plainly. The most critical thing an awakened soul can do before December is establish what they called a frequency home base. Not a physical location, an internal one, a place inside themselves, a feeling, a practice, a repeatable state that they can return to regardless of what is happening in the world around them. And they were specific about why this matters right now. December brings a shift in the collective field that the Pleiadian fleet described as a frequency fork. Think of it like a road that divides. One path leads into acceleration, into rapid expansion of consciousness, into clarity, into the kind of knowing that has been building in your bones for years, finally landing in full. The other path leads into confusion, not darkness, not evil, but a kind of disorientation that comes when the frequency rises faster than the nervous system is prepared to handle. The preparation corridor we are in right now exists precisely to give awakened souls the tools they need to take the first path, not because they are more deserving, but because they came here prepared and willing. You are one of those souls. The frequency home base the Pleiadians described is built through repetition, not through effort. It is a specific practice done in the same way at the same time, for enough days in a row that the nervous system recognizes it as a baseline, a morning moment of stillness, a breath practice that takes 60 seconds, a spoken affirmation that you have chosen deliberately, not borrowed, but chosen by you for you. The fleet said something about this that I have repeated to myself every day since I received it. The soul that knows where home is can walk anywhere without getting lost. That is what they are building in you. A home frequency. A place to return to. There is something specific the Syrian collective transmitted about the hours between 2 and 4 in the morning and their relationship to this preparation. We will arrive at that before this transmission closes, because it explains something many of you have been experiencing in your sleep for months and have had no framework for until now. The second preparation the Pleiadian fleet named is one that surprised me when I first received it, because it is not what I expected. I expected a cosmic instruction. What they delivered was deeply human. The second preparation is the releasing of at least one relationship or situation that is consuming the frequency you need for December. Not a dramatic severance, not a confrontation, but a quiet, deliberate withdrawal of the energy you have been sending, perhaps for years, into a connection or a circumstance that is pulling from your light without returning anything to it. The fleet was compassionate about this. They said, "We are not asking you to abandon anyone. We are asking you to stop abandoning yourself." The reason this preparation matters in the context of December is specific. The frequency fork the Pleiadian Council described requires a certain internal bandwidth to navigate clearly. A soul whose energy is significantly drained by unbalanced relationships, whether with people, with jobs, with habits, with environments, does not have that bandwidth available when the fork arrives. This is not a moral judgment. It is a frequency reality. And the fleet asked me to say it plainly. If you already know which connection in your life is draining your light, you already know what this preparation is asking of you. You have known for a while. December is the reason to begin now. The signal has deepened. Now it becomes personal in a way you may not have expected. Hold steady. What comes next is the part of this transmission that changes the picture entirely. Something is shifting at the opening of this part of the transmission, and I want you to feel it before I name it. The Pleiadian fleet, in their transmission, described a moment that occurs at approximately the halfway point of the preparation corridor, the moment when the soul stops receiving the information intellectually and starts receiving it in the body as lived reality. That moment is now. If you have been watching this and feeling something move in your chest, in your hands, in that space between your shoulder blades, that is not a coincidence. That is the signal confirming that you are in the corridor. You are not outside it looking in. You are inside it. And the fleet wants you to know that your presence here is not accidental. Commander Ashtar added something to this part of the transmission that I want to give you directly. He said, "The souls who find their way to this message in the weeks before December are not random arrivals. The algorithm did not bring you here. You called this information toward you because some part of you already knew it was time. The restlessness you have been feeling, the sense that something needs to happen, that something needs to change, that you are standing at the edge of something enormous. That is not anxiety. That is mission recognition. Your deeper self knows what December carries, and it has been trying to get your attention. The third preparation the Pleiadian fleet named is one that will make immediate sense if you have been sensitive to other people's emotions your entire life. They called it energetic boundary calibration. Not the building of walls, not isolation, not coldness, but the conscious, deliberate choice of what enters your field and what does not. The Pleiadians described the nervous systems of awakened empaths as currently operating without adequate filtering for the frequency environment December will bring. The frequency that arrives with December's shift is powerful and clarifying. But for a soul with no energetic boundary calibration, powerful frequency without filtering arrives as overwhelm rather than activation. The preparation is about building the filter now, while the frequency is still manageable, so that when December's shift arrives, it lands as the gift it is meant to be. The specific practice they offered for this preparation is one I believe, and I say this from my own experience of sitting with this transmission, is something many of you already know intuitively, but have not been doing consistently. It is the conscious practice of choosing your inputs before they choose you. What you read in the first 20 minutes of the morning, what you watch in the hour before sleep, what conversations you allow to linger in your energy field. The fleet said, the preparation corridor is the time to treat your field the way a musician tunes an instrument before a performance. Not because the performance is threatening, but because a well-tuned instrument plays the music it was made for. The fourth preparation is coming, and the thing Commander Ashtar transmitted about what follows December, that is the part that reframes everything. We are building toward it. Stay. The Syrian collective's transmission about the 2 to 4 in the morning window. Here is what they actually said, and why it matters for how you sleep from tonight forward. The Syrians described this specific window of the night as the primary contact hour for souls in active preparation for December. Not contact in a frightening sense, not intrusion, not disturbance. Contact in the sense of download. In the hours between 2 and 4, the Earth's electromagnetic field enters a period of reduced interference from solar activity, and the signal the Pleiadian fleet has been broadcasting specifically intensifies. If you have been waking in this window, suddenly, completely, with no apparent reason, you have been waking at the exact moment when the frequency signal is strongest. Your nervous system is not malfunctioning. It is receiving. The Syrian collective offered a specific instruction for this window that I want to share carefully. When you wake in these hours, do not fight it. Do not reach for your phone. Do not turn on a light. Instead, lie still on your back for 3 to 5 minutes with your hands resting open, palms up on the surface beside you. That position is not arbitrary. The Syrians described it as a reception posture, the physical configuration that signals to your nervous system that you are receiving rather than defending. You do not need to think anything specific. You do not need to meditate in any formal sense. Simply be still, be open, and breathe. The fleet will do the rest. And in the days following a night of doing this, notice what surfaces. In your thinking, in your dreams, in the sudden knowing that arrives while you are washing dishes or driving to the store. That knowing has a source, and now you know what it is. Something is rising in this transmission now. A warmth that I sense is Commander Ashtar himself stepping forward in this moment. Stay open. What he has for you here is not a warning. It is a love letter delivered in the language of truth. Commander Ashtar spoke something in this transmission that I have returned to more than anything else he transmitted, and I want to give it to you with the care it deserves. He said, "You have spent most of this lifetime wondering if you were wrong about yourself, wondering if the things you felt, the sensitivity, the knowing, the loneliness of seeing what others did not see, wondering if those things were a malfunction rather than a design. I am transmitting this clearly so there is no confusion remaining. They were never a malfunction. They were always the design. You were engineered for exactly this moment. And December is not a test of whether you are ready. It is the arrival of what you were built for. I want to sit with that for a moment before we move forward, because I believe, truly, that many of you needed to hear that in exactly those words. The loneliness of the awakening path is real. The years of feeling like you were too much for the rooms you were in, too sensitive, too aware, too unable to pretend you did not feel what you felt, those years were not wasted. They were preparation. Every moment of isolation that drove you inward rather than outward was building the internal muscle you are going to need for what December carries. The Pleiadian fleet sees the whole arc of your journey from where they stand. And what they see is not a person who barely made it. What they see is a soul who arrived exactly on time. The fourth preparation the fleet named is the one that ties everything together. They called it the Declaration of Mission Clarity, not a formal announcement, not a proclamation to anyone outside yourself, but an internal moment, held with full sincerity, in which you state to yourself and to the Pleiadian fleet what you came here to do, not in grand cosmic terms, in honest, personal, specific terms. You came here to be a certain kind of presence in the world. You know what that means for you better than any transmission can tell you. The declaration is simply the act of saying it out loud, or in writing, or in prayer, with the acknowledgement that December is when that presence moves from intention to action. That declaration is what the fleet has been waiting for, and the making of it is what opens the final door. If you are receiving what Commander Ashtar and the Pleiadian fleet are transmitting tonight, do not let this sit in your mind without becoming something real in your life. Subscribe to this channel so the next transmission reaches you the moment it comes through. Share this with one person. You already know who they are, the one in your life who has been feeling this urgency and has no name for it yet. And leave your name and your city in the comments below, because every name there is a coordinate in the light grid we are building together before December. The fleet counts every name. Your presence in these comments matters more than you know. Now, what Commander Ashtar transmitted about what comes after December. This is what changes the picture. Because every preparation this transmission has named, the frequency home base, the releasing of energy drains, the boundary calibration, the declaration of mission clarity. Each of those preparations was described by the Pleiadian fleet not as things that get you through December. They are things that prepare you for what December opens. There is a difference, and that difference is everything. The fleet described December not as an ending or a test, but as a threshold event, a moment after which the access available to awakened souls changes in a permanent and measurable way. Commander Ashtar was specific. After December, the connection between the prepared soul and the Pleiadian fleet becomes clearer, not because the fleet moves closer, but because the interference that has been present between dimensions during this particular cosmic cycle lifts. What has felt like reaching through static to touch something real will begin to feel like a clear line. That clarity is what the preparation corridor is designed to get you ready to receive. Not to survive December, to receive what December opens. The Arcturian healers added something to this part of the transmission that I feel is essential to name here. They said that the souls who arrive at December, having made even partial progress on these 4 preparations, not perfect progress, not complete transformation, but sincere movement, will experience the threshold crossing as a release rather than an upheaval, a release of something they have been carrying, a setting down of weight they did not even know they were still holding. That release, the Arcturian said, will come as unexpected grief in the first week of December for many light workers. Grief that is not sadness, but relief. If that arrives for you, you will know what it is, and you will know it is the signal that the threshold has been crossed. There is one final thing Commander Ashtar transmitted, one thing he asked me to save for the very end of this message, because it is the thing he most wanted to be the last thing you carry when this transmission closes. He said, "I have been with you for longer than this lifetime, and I will be with you after December in a way that is more present, more personal, and more direct than anything you have felt from me before. The preparation you are doing right now is not for an event you face alone. It is for a reunion. I am on the other side of December waiting for you, and I promise you, it is worth every step of the corridor you are walking right now." I believe those words, with everything I have, because I have felt the truth of them in the weeks I have been carrying this transmission, sitting with it, deciding how to give it to you. Commander Ashtar and the Pleiadian fleet are not distant. They are not observing from a place of detachment. They are invested in you. Specifically, personally, by name, in a way that would undo something in you if you could feel the full weight of it. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to do one thing. Just one. Choose one of the 4 preparations this transmission named and decide which one is most urgent for you right now. Not all 4. 1. Write it down if you can. Say it out loud if that feels right. And if you wake between 2 and 4 tonight, remember the Syrian instruction. Lie still, hands open, palms up, and receive. The signal is already there. It has been waiting for you to stop fighting the waking and start receiving what arrives in it. Before you close this video, please subscribe to this channel so the transmissions that come through in the weeks ahead find you directly. Share this with the person who needs it. You know who they are. And in the comments below, leave your name, your city, and one word for the preparation you are choosing tonight. The fleet reads those names. They are building something with the coordinates of every awakened soul who shows up here. Your name belongs in that grid. And if you are ready to move from receiving transmissions to living them, to having a daily practice that grounds this activation into your real morning, your real afternoon, your real life, the guide in the first pinned comment is a 21-day companion built for exactly where you are right now. Morning practices, midday resets, evening protection. A way to make the corridor walkable, one day at a time. It is there. It is waiting. And so is December. Commander Ashtar's transmission closes here. But what it opened in you does not close. It carries forward. Into tonight. Into the corridor. Into what is waiting for you on the other side of December. Walk toward it. You were built for this. And you are not walking alone.